It's become a cliche to say the SUV is the modern family car. So what happens to the old-fashioned family cars, the likes of the Toyota Camry? Well, they've evolved into something very different.
The modern midsize sedan has become an alternative to the luxury car, as this quartet we've assembled demonstrates. The new Toyota Camry, Mazda6, Hyundai Sonata and sporty Skoda Octavia Rs all offer the kind of size and creature comforts you generally expect in a premium car, but without the premium price tag, with all four starting at less than $46,000.
The modern family may no longer want these type of cars, but there's still a lot to like about them. So let's find out which of these four is the best.
The new Camry is a big deal for the Japanese brand, moving back to being a fully imported model after decades of local manufacturing. But more than that, this represents a new era for the Camry, with Toyota making a concerted effort to make it a more sporty and dynamic car to drive to give it some extra appeal to discerning buyers. We're testing the high-grade 4-cylinder SL model, which is priced from $39,990. For that money, you get 18-inch alloy wheels, a sports front grille, a rear boot spoiler, and a panoramic glass roof.
Inside, the new Camry certainly looks premium. Apart from the design, you've got a 10-inch colour head-up display. You've got this 8-inch infotainment touchscreen. You get ambient lighting. There's leather seats that are ventilated up front here. All in all, it feels quite premium. Certainly a step above that image you have of the fleet car cheapie that Camry is so often tarnished with. One negative I would say though is you can't get the Camry with Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, which is so popular amongst modern drivers. That's just a decision Toyota's made. In terms of space though, it is impressive. The rear room, it's got plenty of knee room, plenty of leg room. It's more than enough for an adult to sit comfortably. The only issue is our test car has got a sunroof, and that does compromise headroom a little bit. But overall, it's a really spacious and good quality premium feeling cabin inside.
Toyota offers three powertrains for the new Camry: a 2.5 litre 4-cylinder petrol, a petrol-electric hybrid, and a V6. We're driving the former, which offers up 133 kilowatts of power and 235 newton meters of torque.
Those numbers mean it is the least powerful of these cars here, but on the road, it does a good job. It's modest, but it's adequate, is probably the best way to describe the engine. It does the job. But I guess just as importantly, it actually does the job in a smooth, quiet, refined way. It's actually, a pleasant car to be in. In terms of how it drives, well, the Camry has deservedly a reputation for being a bit boring, but this latest model, well, it's a totally different world. It's still comfortable. It still probably has the most comfortable and compliant ride of this quartet, but it's also fun to drive. It's engaging. It's got really nice steering. It's responsive. It's, dare I say, fun. And that's not something you could always say about a Camry. Toyota wanted to make a better Camry, a more dynamic, a more engaging Camry, and they've succeeded.
The Hyundai Sonata is an easy car to overlook, notching up less than 1,000 sales in 2017, despite the introduction of a heavily updated model. But it's worth closer attention. The South Korean brand has built a spacious and well-equipped mid-size sedan that has plenty of appeal. Hyundai slimmed down the Sonata range when it updated the model, ditching the mid-grade Elite and simply offering the base Active or the fully loaded Premium. The latter is what we're testing here, priced from $45,490. That makes it the most expensive of this group, but it does come equipped with 18-inch alloy wheels fitted with better quality Michelin tyres than the 17-inch Continental Shot Active model. There's also a panoramic sunroof and some dark chrome exterior trim to help differentiate it from its cheaper sibling.
Inside the Premium, you get leather trim, heated and ventilated front seats. There's an 8-inch touchscreen, a 6-speaker stereo with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and like the Camry, you get a wireless charging pad for your smartphone. In terms of space, the Sonata is probably the clear winner of this group. It's got the most knee and leg room, but also the most headroom and the most width in the back seat. So it is the most comfortable. If you're looking for space, this is the pick.
The Sonata is a wolf in sheep's clothing, boasting the most powerful engine in this group, with its 2-litre 4-cylinder turbo petrol pushing out 180 kilowatts and 353 newton meters. It's paired to a new 8-speed automatic transmission.
The Sonata certainly feels powerful on the road. It's got really easy performance. You just put your foot down and it goes with all that extra grunt. It certainly feels a step up over the Toyota and the Mazda. But it doesn't really, if I'm honest, sound that flash. It doesn't sound like it's a sophisticated performance engine. It kind of sounds a little bit gruff and unrefined, but you know, you're getting plenty of bang for your buck. In terms of how it drives, well, you know, we say it all the time, but Hyundai does a lot of local ride and handling work to tune the suspension to Australian conditions, and it pays off. It's a really nice mid-sized car to drive. It rides the bumps well, steers nicely. This is quite a, you know, enjoyable mid-sized car. The big concern though with this car, the big caveat that I have with the Sonata is the lack of autonomous emergency braking. The other three cars have it. It's not available on this, even though it's the most expensive car we have here, which, quite frankly, is a big no-no in my book. I just think at this price point, in this day and age, you just can't afford to be missing the basics like that.
The Mazda6 has been the Camry's biggest threat in recent years, at least as far as private buyers go. The sleek and stylish machine has blurred the lines between mainstream and luxury brand better than most. We're testing the GT model, which is priced from $42,690, but looks sharp with its 19-inch alloy wheels, sunroof and adaptive LED headlights.
It's just as nice in here. You've got leather trim, heated front and rear seats, a 7-inch infotainment screen, and you get a Bose premium sound system that incorporates digital radio and some smartphone apps. In terms of space, it's an interesting one because the Mazda's probably the tightest in knee room. But having said that, because these are four of the roomiest mid-sized cars around, it's still got more than adequate rear space for adults.
A new turbocharged petrol engine is coming with an updated 6 later in 2018. But until then, the GT is powered by a 2.5 litre 4-cylinder petrol Skyactiv engine. It's good for a respectable 138 kilowatts and 250 newton meters and is paired to a 6-speed automatic transmission as standard.
On the road, the Mazda is actually quite similar to the Camry in a lot of ways. I mean, for starters, the engine performance, on paper they're very similar, and on the road they again feel quite similar. It's adequate performance without being exceptional. It does the job, but nothing over the top. In terms of how it drives, the Mazda6 was always sort of a dynamic benchmark. It was the most enjoyable of these mid-sized sedans to drive, but I have to say, I think based on our experience today, I think the Toyota has it covered. The Mazda just has a slightly firmer rider. You've noticed the bumps a bit more, and all in all, it just doesn't feel quite as sharp actually as the Toyota, which is a surprise, but a pleasant one.
The Skoda Octavia Rs is something of the odd one out in this test, being more of a sports sedan than a luxury midsizer. However, being priced from $38,990, it's actually the cheapest of this group, despite packing a punchy turbocharged engine and overtly sporty looks. It gets an aggressive body kit with different bumpers and 18-inch alloy wheels, as well as lower, sportier suspension.
Inside, it's just as sporty as well. You get this flat-bottom steering wheel and these supportive and stylish bucket seats. But you also get those simply clever touches that Skoda's known for, like a bin in the door pocket here and a ticket holder up on the windscreen. So that just gives it a real practical feel. You also get ambient lighting and this high-gloss 9.2-inch infotainment touchscreen that looks really good and is intuitive to use. You also get an 8-speaker sound system and of course Android Auto and Apple CarPlay to give it that premium feel. In terms of space, the back seat is actually surprisingly roomy, given the Octavia is sort of not your traditional medium-sized car. It's almost in between a small car and a medium-sized car, but it's got plenty of rear knee room. It's slightly narrower than the other cars we've got here, but overall it'll fit 2 adults in comfort in the back.
Under the bonnet is Volkswagen Group's familiar 2-litre 4-cylinder turbocharged petrol engine used in the Golf GTI, among others. In the Octavia RS165 TSI, it produces, unsurprisingly, 169 kilowatts and 350 newton meters, and is paired to a 6-speed dual-clutch automatic transmission.
But while it may not be the most powerful on paper, the Octavia certainly feels the sportiest on the road. It's got real pep from the engine, like it really feels like it's got get up and go, and that's not surprising because it's basically underneath it's a hot hatch. It's a Volkswagen Golf GTI drivetrain and underpinning, so it has that real hot hatch vibe to it on the road. It also sounds sportier than the Hyundai. It's got more of that burble and growl that you expect in a hot hatch, and an engine that's got this much grunt. It actually, you know, has a matching soundtrack, which feels quite sporty to drive compared to the other three here. In terms of actual driving on the road, well, again, it feels sportier because it's a slightly smaller car. It feels a bit more agile and responsive on the road. The downside of that, though, is that it doesn't ride as nicely. It's got a noticeably firmer ride than the other three, and it tends to jar, particularly over speed bumps, those sharp-edged bumps. It will hit them quite hard initially, so it isn't as comfortable and as plush to ride in. But overall, the Octavia RS is a very impressive medium-sized car.
In practical terms, all 4 of these models offer up generous sized boots. But it's the Skoda that stands out thanks to its liftback boot that allows you to get bigger objects in, but it also has the best measurement on paper with a huge 568 litres.
So which one's the pick? Well, that's a hard question to answer because each of these 4 is good in their own right. They've all elevated the once humble family sedan into a premium choice without breaking the bank. But the one that stands just that little bit ahead of the pack is the new Toyota Camry.
While it's sad that the Camry is no longer built in Australia, Toyota has improved this new generation model in every way. It's still as dependable, reliable and good value as ever, but on top of that, the new Camry is more stylish, more dynamic and more luxurious. It may no longer be the family car of choice, but it's a great car for anyone looking for a comfortable and spacious way to transport 4.